Rush Duels have finally gotten a widespread English release with their introduction into Duel Links. From the good to the bad, there are plenty of decks making their way onto the scene. In Tier 3, we have the fun decks. They're designed for playing with your friends, but even these can reach king of games with a dedicated player. Diabolic King Beetle is the beloved KP01 Rogue Warrior's best friend, and it makes a return in Duel Links. Stall for time with your level 1 monsters, then boost your boss monsters to incredible heights. Even defensive play can't stop a 4000 attack Dragias with Pierce. Noodle Ninjas take a similar approach, fighting early game when they can, but with the ultimate goal of loading up the graveyard. The deck is likely to fall behind early, but that just means Folder Blitz can create comebacks out of nowhere. Next up is the Road Magic Explosion deck, which aims to supplement combat with repeated uses of 1200 burn damage. Explosive Drive can turn Ansler into a level 7 to meet the activation condition, and there's even a budget version running Axel Wonder's Splat to boost its own level without needing to pay 2 tributes for 7-sword Magician. Finally, we have Magician's Shuffle, a deck which sees how good someone's skull is and then aims to get 3 copies of it by putting Dark Magician in the discard pile as fast as possible. Moving on to Tier 2, we have decks that I believe Konami intended to be viable, unlike the Beetle. First up is Psychic, a deck with not only an infinitely reusable out to opposing boss monsters, but only the only good trap card in the game. This deck is largely held back by the requirement to run a bunch of level 2 normal monsters in place of all the generic good cards, and in fact, this is such a large detriment that many players forego the skill in favor of LP Gain, which is a way to stem the bleeding from using Prima Guitarna and Roman Pick. In either case, the release of additional Roman Pick will make this deck more threatening, and if they ever want to push Psychics harder, buffing the skill to work with level 1 monsters would be huge. Next is Lightning Voltcondor, a deck many players have likely tried but written off as less than stellar. However, I believe those impressions are largely due to the third copy of several key cards being paywalled. Almost every single boss monster is either light or dark attribute, making it easy to debuff entire fields and swing for near lethal damage. The deck also has great potential to recur bodies, with Lightning Shift getting Trick Pigeon and Trick Pigeon getting Voltcondor. It's also the easiest deck to put together, so if you're new to Rush and want to try something out, this is my recommendation. Rounding out this tier is Yami Ruler. Their skill is functionally similar to Psych 1 in that both serve the primary purpose of swapping monsters to defense position. The trade-offs are that you don't get Climax Finale, but you do get to run good low-level monsters. Of course, it also needs to be mentioned that Gakuto cards benefit from the opponent being in defense mode, but the effect is stronger here than it is in Psychics. Yami Ruler's stun effect and 2500 stats force the opponent to draw one of the very few specific outs, but the deck is ultimately a bit less consistent than the decks I consider Tier 1. Moving on to Tier 1 are the decks that I think kind of define the intended Duel Links meta. 7's XL Road gives players the opportunity to search 7-zone Magician, enabling consistent power plays with Witch. There's a Spellcaster lock for powerful monsters, so we can't run Dragias, but we do get Torn of the Windweaver, an limit 3 card that not only takes out Dragias, but fits the activation requirement of our skill. And when it comes to beating over monsters, XL Wonder is no slouch either, reaching 2600 after its own effect. With a variety of utility effects to out-opposing monsters and unparalleled consistency with the power of Mystic Dealer and Recovery Force, expect to see plenty of people on this deck. And wherever spellcasters go, dragons will follow. Dragonic Resonance does everything a dragon deck could ask for. Raising the level of monsters enables Dragonic Slayer, allows you to ignore the restriction of Sports Dragon, Pitcher, and Slugger, and even makes it easy to activate Triad Drago for additional draw. Alongside their own consistency card in Bunker Strike and the most powerful spell in the format, this deck is able to clear out anything the opponent tries to set up and strike back twice as hard. As I was trying out various decks to get hands-on experience for this video, I went on a 15-game win streak, far eclipsing the results of every other deck. It's fun, it's powerful, and playing feels incredibly smooth. It's fun, it's powerful, and playing feels incredibly smooth. There's a reason I said it twice. Thank you for watching.
Actually, there is one thing. One other thing.
ティア1の上にティア5度。ラッシュルーレといえばリウムだ。ダークラブレーションがいないけど、ドラギウソとセブンズロールマジンが無敵なコンビ。またシェアは半分ぐらい。That said, the meta is developing. Here are some potential changes. There's a data mine skill that suggests we could be getting Thousand Knives. Targeted removal is incredible and should cause Dark Magician to rocket in viability. The biggest issue with early Legend support in Rush was the need to draw a 1-of, but Duel Links makes these cards searchable, turning Thousand Knives from a brick into an always live kill button. There's also the release of Mimi, who will come with Aqua cards. The most notable is Seahorse Carrier, joining the ranks of cards like Currybot and Sports Dragons to enable summoning multiple level 7 monsters in one turn. By using Mimi's skill, you'll be halfway there, so toss these in alongside Dragias and you'll have a new variant of an already popular deck. Rise Terra Secure was included as a box UR, but is yet to really shine. It may reach its stride when dedicated Aqua decks come around. Phantom Bind isn't seeing much play right now, but it is worth keeping an eye on. If the meta ever shifts towards type-lagging skills, this card becomes much stronger. Hammer Crush is currently used for the related draw skill, but will become more valuable when better traps are introduced. Even if traps get destroyed, end boards will be weaker as a Hammer Crush takes up space in the hand and requires a discard, ultimately slowing the meta down either way. Aggro decks may start to experiment with their skills as time goes on. We currently see a split between Hammer Crush Deal and Legend Draw, but other options do exist. Given the lack of back row, Blue Medicine Deal might actually be slightly stronger, potentially saving a player from an OTK or allowing them to use Currybutt's effect when they otherwise couldn't. If there are ever any changes to the limited list, we may see Torna end up in Dragoncaster decks alongside Tornado Draw, and new cards may be released that make other draw skills useful as well. I'm excited to see where things go, and I hope you are too.